One of the keys to Apple is Apple's an incredibly collaborative company. And so, you know how many committees we have at Apple?
No.
0. We have no committees.
No committees.
We are organized like a startup. One person's in charge of iPhone OS software. One person's in charge of Mac hardware. One person's in charge of iPhone hardware engineering. Another person's in charge of worldwide marketing. Another person's in charge of operations. We're organized like a startup. We're the biggest startup on the planet. And we all meet for 3 hours once a week, and we talk about everything we're doing, the whole business. And there's tremendous teamwork at the top of the company, which filters down to tremendous teamwork throughout the company. And teamwork is dependent on trusting the other folks to come through with their part without watching them all the time, but trusting that they're going to come through with their parts. And that's what we do really well. And we're great at figuring out how to divide things up into these great teams that we have and all work on the same thing, touch bases frequently, and bring it all together into a product. We do that really well. And so what I do all day is meet with teams of people and work on ideas and solve problems to make new products, to make new marketing programs, whatever it is.
And are people willing to tell you you're wrong?
Yeah.
I mean, other than snarky journalists. I mean, people that work
with... Oh, yeah. No, we have wonderful arguments.
And do you win them all? Or?
Oh, no, I wish I did. No, see, you can't. If you want to hire great people and have them stay working for you, you have to let them make a lot of decisions, and you have to be run by ideas, not hierarchy. The best ideas have to win. So, otherwise, good people don't stay.
But you must be more than a facilitator who runs meetings. You obviously contribute your own ideas.
I contribute ideas, sure. Well, why would I be there if I didn't?
Hello, good day everyone. This is Janome Azarkhan. I am tasked to report Chapter 3, which is about individual and organization relation and retention. You've just seen a short video on how Steve Jobs handles his company. The previous chapters as well discuss about the different manpower and strategies in handling a company. So with those in mind, you'll be able to understand fully the objectives of this chapter, which includes the nature of the psychological contract, the different kinds of absenteeism and turnover, how to measure absenteeism and turnover, the drivers of retention and activities related to them, and of course, how to manage retention. So I'm going to show you some slides, so please enjoy.
All right, so I picked how Steve Jobs handled the company because aside from Google, the way he handles his company is one of my favorite style. And in Chapter 3, when we talk about retention, organization and individual relation and retention, we need to understand first, I think the very basic is to understand the employees and the style or the strat before we could come up with a program that could make our employees retain or become loyal. All right, we're going to discuss different strategies and of course incorporate the lessons that we had in the previous chapters. When we join an organization, for example, we already have a certain motivation in mind. That kind of motivation is actually what we call psychological contract. This is an unwritten expectations employees and employers have about the nature of their work relationships. This is greatly affected by the by the age of the employee and the changes in the economic conditions. What makes handling human resource nowadays is actually the diversity of the employees nowadays, plus the globalization. So, to make an employee loyal, we have to make sure that that employee is motivated well and the needs of that employee are being addressed. And in psychological contract, a psychological ownership would come in, which is when individual feels that they have some control and perceived rights in the organization, they are more likely to be committed to the organization, which is really true. So in the psychological contract, employers should provide the competitive compensation and benefit, the career development opportunities, and flexibility to balance work and home life. On the other hand, employees contribute the continuous skill improvement, the reasonable time with the organization, and even extra effort when needed. Aside from motivation, we have to discuss the job satisfaction, the loyalty, and commitment. When we say job satisfaction, it is a positive emotional state resulting from evaluating one's job experience. When we talk about loyalty, this is the degree to which employees believe in and accept organizational goals and desire to remain with the organization. The continuous commitment, or the likelihood that an individual will stay with rather than withdraw from the organization. So again, this figure shows the factors affecting job satisfaction and organizational commitment. So there we have the job design and the job element, as well as absenteeism and turnover. Absenteeism and turnover are some of the factors that could assess how motivated a person is. When we say absenteeism, this is a failure to report for work as scheduled or to stay at work when scheduled. There are two types: involuntary absenteeism, which is unavoidable with understandable cause, and of course the other one is voluntary absenteeism, avoidable without justifiable cause. In order to measure the absenteeism, we have to multiply the quotient of the number of person-less days lost through the job absence during the period over the average number of employees times the number of work days. Okay, so later on I'll be showing sample computation of absenteeism as well as turnover. Some of the basic or some reasons for unscheduled absenteeism based on the Human Resource Management of CCH absenteeism survey on 2003. 18% is because of the personal needs, the family issues, which cater 22%, personal illness to 36%, stress for 11%, entitlement mentality 13%. Entitlement mentality, I think, is the others are understandable except for this one. This means you have this, you feel that you have the right to be absent mentality, which I think we all have. So employer absenteeism control actions could be disciplinary actions, illness verification to really check if there is really an illness, the no fault policies, no excuses accepted, the paid off time program, unused leave buyback, or the attendance reward program. When we say disciplinary approach, this is increasingly severe disciplinary action leading eventually to dismissal. Too much of disciplinary actions would actually lead to withdrawal. Positive reinforcement rather, is rewarding attendance with prize and bonuses. Combination approach, we could use both the discipline and the reward to motivate employee attendance. When we say no fault absenteeism, reasons for absence do not matter. Absenteeism in excess or normal limits can trigger disciplinary action and lead to eventually to dismissal. And then the last time is a paid time off program. The time off is not categorized by type. Absences in excess of employer paid time off are unpaid. These are only some of actions that we could do to address absenteeism. On the other hand, we also have employee turnover. When we say turnover, this is the process in which employees leave the organization and have to be replaced. The impact of turnover could be the inability to achieve the business goals, the loss of image to attract other individuals, the high cost of turnover and replacement. There are different types of turnover. When we say involuntary turnover, this is the termination for poor performance or work rule violation. Voluntary turnover, employee leave by choice. The functional turnover is the lower performing or disruptive employees leave the organization. This is very ideal. And dysfunctional turnover is when the key individuals and high performers leave at critical times. Uncontrollable turnover, when employees leave for reasons outside the control of the organization. And controllable turnover occurs due to factors that could be influenced by the employer. The HR metrics for measuring absenteeism, as shown earlier, was again number of person, less days lost through job absenteeism during period over the average number of employees times the number of works, multiplied by 100. Other measures of absenteeism could also be the incidence rate. This is the number of absences per 100 employees each day. Inactive rate, the percentage of time lost to absenteeism. The severity rate, the average time lost per absent employee during a specified period of time. The calculation of cost of absenteeism should usually include lost wages, benefits, overtime for replacement, fees for temporarily employees if incurred, supervisors' time, substandard production, overstaffing necessary to cover absences. For measuring turnover, we have different ways to measure this: the job and job levels, department, units and location, the reason for leaving, the length of service, demographic characteristics, educational and training, knowledge, skills and abilities, performance ratings and levels. So for computing turnover rate, we divide the number of employee separation during the month over the total number of employees at mid-month times 100 to get the percent. And the cost of turnover is the separation cost. The costs of turnover could be separation costs, replacement costs, training costs, and some other hidden costs. Okay, this is a simple computation. For example, the job is paying $20 annually, and then the percentage of pay for benefit multiplied by the annual pay. This is 40%. So the total employee annual cost is the 20% plus the $20,000 plus the 40% of $20,000, which is $8,000. That is a total of $28,000. And then number of employee who voluntarily quit the job in the past 12 months. And then so we're gonna get the number of months it takes for one employee to become fully productive. That is 3 per person turnover cost. We have to divide the number of employee divided by the time, 12 months, times the total employee annual cost, the 28,000, and times 50%. So we have 3,500. For the annual turnover cost of this job, we simply multiply the person turnover cost and the number of employees who voluntarily quit the job. So the 50% assumes 50% productivity throughout the learning period. So the turnover cost would be amounting to $70,000 for this scenario. Okay, the individual employee performance, on the other hand, could be computed by the ability times the effort times the support. Individual performance factors include individual ability to do work, the effort level expended, and the organizational support. Because the components of the individual performance, there are subcomponents. For the effort expended, it includes the motivation, the work ethic, attendance, and turnover, the job design. For the organizational support, it includes training and development, equipment and technology, performance standard, management, and coworkers. Individual ability also includes talents, interests, and personal characteristics. Okay, again, going back to motivation, which means the desire within a person causing that person to act to reach a goal. There are implications for motivating individual performance. One is the broad-based strategies and tactics to address individual employee concerns about the inconsistency in organizational rewards, organizational support for employees, employee effort, accurate measurement of employee performance, desirability of organizational rewards by employees. Actually, there are very many different kinds of motivational strategies nowadays. One discussed here is the broad-based strategy and tactics. But it depends on the kind of the company and what kind of company it is. Also, I mean, the motivational strategies depends on what kind of company it is. So basically, addressing the concerned employees is the major purpose of motivation, to make those employees satisfied, eventually to make them loyal in the company. So let us ask, let us talk why people stay or leave companies. So of course, first is the culture and values. There is a positive, distinctive company that is well managed and offers exciting challenges. If an employee is not comfortable with the environment, with the culture and the values it has, definitely it would leave. Next is the attractive job. The freedom and autonomy, exciting challenges, and career advancement and growth is also very important for the employees. If they feel that they are being challenged, or there is growth in where they are, there is a great possibility that they're gonna stay. And lastly, the compensation and lifestyle. Differentiated pay package, high total compensation, geographic location, and respect for lifestyle are the concerns of human resource for in taking care of their employees. So again, the drivers of retention includes the job design and work, which is the job person matching, meaning this person should match the job that he is assigned or designated to, and the time flexibility, the work and life balancing. Next, career opportunities, the training, development, and mentoring, and the career planning and advancement. Nowadays, employees are very aware of what's going on outside, and they all most of the employees nowadays feel the lack for something. So the career opportunity should always be present in an organization. Of course, the rewards will never be forgotten. We have to have a competitive pay and benefit, the performance and compensation and recognition, because sometimes even if the job is not in line with your passion or with your forte, but if it pays you well and it gives you recognition, sometimes employees would still stay in the company. Employee relationships, which is very important in my case, regardless of the job and the other benefit, the relationship with the other people within the organization would really be a big factor for somebody to stay or leave. It should be fair and non-discriminatory treatment, supervisory and management support, and the co-worker relations. This is actually a broad topic to discuss, and the others too. And moving on, we have the characteristics of the employer as well, the culture and values, the management, and the job security. If we go back to Steve Jobs, he gave each of his employees authority, or they are responsible on their own field, and he does not tell them to, he does not give instructions on how to do it, but he let his employees come up with their own idea, which is very challenging for the employees' part and also motivating because it means that they are being trusted by their employer. Okay, so some characteristics of people and jobs. Job characteristics. These are the characteristics that the management can control. This includes the task, the authority, responsibility, the policies and procedure, the tools, the variety, time requirements, the social opportunities, working conditions, and stress. But for the people characteristics, these are the characteristics that the management cannot control. The motivation, this is these things may not be controlled by the management, but they could do something in order to somehow control them. For example, so we have the motivation, interest, energy level, personality variable, satisfaction, predisposition, physical characteristics, honesty, conscious, conscious, how this, conscientiousness, intelligence. Okay, so in order to manage retention, these there are three steps. Of course, first, to measure and assess the absence turnover, employees. To be able to measure and assess, we could also have employee surveys, exit interviews, and the data analysis. Employee survey is very important because this is one window to how or what the employee feel about certain things in the organization. Next, after having the measurement and assessment, we can now manage retention. Firstly, we have to have the proper recruiting and selection of the employee, and then orientation and training, compensation and benefits, career development and planning, employee relationship. If we select the right people for the right job, it means it would have lesser um, training cost, and then the compensation and benefit would also be enough, or we could, for example, a person is fit for the job, and for the rewards, it's easy for them to achieve the target, and then so the organization can give them rewards. And lastly is the employee relations. And for the third step, evaluation and follow up. This include the regular review of turnover data, the tracking of intervention results, the adjustment of intervention efforts. So these are the basic steps in managing retention. Okay, here. When we say an employee survey, one is the attitude survey. For us, for the HR manager to be able to focus on employees' feelings and beliefs about their job and organization. For the exit interview, we could ask, we can ask to identify reasons for leaving the organization and somehow ask suggestions on what the organization should do to improve. And for the retention evaluation and follow up, this is a regular review of turnover data, tracking on intervention results and adjustments of intervention efforts. So for the last slide, we have suggestion for improving retention. First, provide a realistic job previews during the recruiting process, so the employees or the applicants would have an idea of what kind of job or job description the position has. Improve the selection process so that there is a better person job fit for new hires. Conduct effective job orientation and initial training. Offers competitive, fair, and equitable compensation. Provide an adequate benefit package. Offer career development and training. Engage in fair and non-discriminatory employee relations. So far, with all of these, there is a great chance that an employee would retain. I'd like to add constant communication or constant checking, constant checkup on each employee, because um, we should have this employer-employee relationship, but if we could be friend to everyone, of course with a certain limit or boundaries, I think it would be easier for the employer to assess or to know are going are experiencing or how they are in the organization. For my activity, I did not prepare a film or an article, but I would like everyone to, for those who are employed, use their current employment, suggest suggest steps to improve retention from for your current employees. For those who are not working, you could use your previous employment. What could have been the activities they can do for you to have, or for not only for you, but for everyone to assure retention, employee retention. All right, thank you so much. Thank you for bearing with me. This is actually my fourth video. I was not able to copy the video that I did from the other computer. So just for the others to know what I'm using, I'm just using my cell phone. I found out mm, this screen recorder application, and then that's it. Voila, I did this. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you understood. It's really different when you're doing the thing on your own than with the audience, especially with interaction. And keep safe, everyone. See you soon. Goodbye.